All right, good morning, everyone. We're continuing in our class in Torah Or, which Torah Or is a basic book of Chabad Hasidut, written by the first Rebbe of Chabad after he got out of prison for beginning teaching his ideas. So when he got out, he realized that it was given an encouragement from God to really start to spread out these ideas. And so he did. And this is one of the books that's written. This is the Torah Or. So it's explaining how the Torah is real and how the Torah is relevant and the Torah is vitally important to every moment of our lives. And not just us, but to everyone in the world. But the Jews have to be woken up first. So here we have a story, an interesting story in our Torah portion, which seems to have no importance to anyone except for the Jews. And even to the Jews, it doesn't seem to have any importance. What's the story about Yosef? There was in the history of Judaism a person called Jacob. Jacob. And his name got changed to Israel. He became the founder of Am Yisrael, the Jewish people. And Jacob had 12 sons, and 10 of the sons hated one of them, Yosef, and to the degree that they wanted to kill him, and they sold him into captivity, and he eventually becomes the king of the whole world. You know the story. And it says that Yosef there, when he was the king of the world, he gathered all the money in the world and he hid it. And there's a midrash that says that this was found. The money that he had, the treasures that he had, was found. I guess it wasn't all the money in the world, but a sufficient amount that it was very tremendously valuable. And he hid the money, and this money was, and the treasure, this hidden treasure, and it was discovered. He hid it in three different places, three different treasure houses, and three of them, they were all discovered. One was discovered by Korach. Another one was discovered. Korach made a big war against Moses, something like 200 years. I have to look at exactly 200 years after Jacob, after Yosef hid all the money. And another 1/3 was found by Antoninus, that was in the middle of the second temple, which that's like about 1,000 years later, more. Yeah, 1,200 years later. And the third one is going to be revealed today. What does it mean today? When Moshiach comes, Moshiach is supposed to come today. Moshiach is going to reveal this third treasure. So we're asking an obvious question. What does this mean? I mean, Yosef gathered all the money together. How is there money in the world today? Right? He gathered all the gold, all the silver, and he didn't distribute it. So if he didn't distribute it, then how do we get it? How is there money in the world? What's going on? So the Rebbe said that we have obviously this is not just a physical thing. This is not just a historical thing. I mean, we have Genghis Khan. He had money. Where did he get his money from? And there was other people that had money. What about the kings of the what does it say? The Palestine, there's Melech Geror, which is Palestine back then. There were people that had money. What about the Assyrians and the Babylonians and all these people that had money? Right? Where did they get their money from? So obviously, this is talking about something a little bit more than just face value. Just face value. And also, what does it mean the Mashiach is going to find the third treasure? That's what we're after. We're after money. We care about money. Mashiach, it says, is going to change the whole the value system of the world internally. That people won't be so selfish. And Mashiach is going to be a person that no one's going to be thinking about going to heaven or getting any sort of rewards. People will realize that they're being created by God. So people, I mean, he really has to have money. Everybody's right. There won't be any more graft and lust and cheating and stealing, and then the world will be a good place. It'll start to be a good place. So why will we have to reveal this money? So it says, okay, let's understand this. First of all, we're not dealing only with money. We're dealing with an appreciation of God. And that's the biggest riches that you can have. The biggest riches possible is a true appreciation of God, which today almost nobody has. And to the degree that today there's a lot of people that are total atheists, and they have good support for their right their claims. They have good support for the claims. For instance, the really only claim of the Jewish people to the land of Israel that God gave it to us, except for the fact that we conquered it and etc. But the best claim, let's put it that the ultimate claim of the Jewish people is that God gave it to us. So the world will say, who is this God? What are you talking about, God? Where is God? How does that even enter into the picture? God has absolutely nothing to do with politics or with economics or, you want to be a nice person. If it makes you better, but it's a psychological thing that you play on yourself. But God, how does God? So that's the whole idea that Yosef, he gathered together this awareness of God, which is hidden, and it's been revealed, but it's been misused also. Because a lot of times when a person, just take the example of the Jewish people, God revealed himself to the Jewish people. So, I mean, ourselves, a person can think two things. A miracle happens to you, you can think two things. Number one, how great God is, or you can think how great I am. Look, miracles are happening to me. I must deserve it. Right? That's basically what happened to the Jews when they got out of Egypt. God did all these big miracles for them. And then when the miracles stopped, they had to live in a normal world. Right? And Moses wasn't there to keep reminding them to connect themselves to God. So they worshiped the golden calf. Because selfishness kicks in. So it says that's what Yosef did. Yosef, it says he buried this money, this treasures. Okay, so let's look and see. We'll take it from beginning. We started this actually yesterday, but we'll continue. Here we go. It says, "Vayelka Yosef et kol kesef." The Yosef gathered all the money in the world, and Nimsa be'eretz Mitzrayim was in Egypt. V'yavei Yosef, and Yosef took the money and he put it into the house of Paro. The rabbis say, Shloshmat Monios he'd mean Yosef. Yosef made 3 hidden treasures. What are the treasures? One of them was revealed to Korach. One of them was revealed to Antoninus. Anthony, I guess that's Anthony. Anthony Cleopatra. Anthony. Antoninus in the time of Greece. And one of them is concealed, hidden for the tzaddikim in the world to come. So what do the tzaddikim need to do with the money of Antoninus? We'll see. Well, having to understand this, it says, or is a rule at tzaddik, there is a light, which is a spiritual light, the light that God created on the first day of creation. This is concealed for the tzaddikim. Or is a rule at tzaddik, it's concealed. But Yaduan is known, it's a sentence in Psalms. But Yaduan it's known, the Hainu, Bechinas or Kadma'a, this first light that God made when he created the world, the Havi Nahir Miseife Alma Al Seife, it shined from one end of the world to the other. In other words, from one end of creation to all of creation. This is the light of awareness of all being, past, present, and future at one time. And it was hidden, God hid it for the tzaddikim. That's what it said. God saw the light, it was good, and explains what does it mean it was good? It was good to hide for the tzaddikim. Okay, what is this light? Where was this light? And then the light was created before the sun and the moon was created. So obviously, this is not a normal type of a light. It says, you're right, it's a light of a consciousness which is concealed for the tzaddikim, that they will know every detail of the world, and past, present, and future, everything. We'll see things like God sees things. And what does it mean that it's hidden treasure? What does it mean that this light is hidden? Even we can understand, Ba'avodas Hashem and serving God. There are 2 types of love. We did this yesterday, but we did it quickly, so let's go over. There's 2 types of love of God. right? So, like we said before, there's people, and for very just, for very, very the for very just and proper reasons, that they don't believe that there is even such a thing as God. And those that do, they twist it all around. You can only get to God through some person or some whatever it is, or there's no God doesn't care. He's just up there. You can connect to him, but he doesn't care what you do. He's just his ultimate reality. Okay. In any case, the true fact of what God is, that God is infinitely, infinitely higher than any possible spiritual level you can imagine. On the other hand, God cares about us. He cares about every detail. This is the true awareness of God creating the world every moment, creating me and you, and creating us for a purpose. This awareness of this is concealed. It's concealed from one end to the other. Concealed. And there's even the upper worlds, from even the highest worlds, it's concealed from them. The angels go berserk. They have a little glimpse of what God is. It makes them go wild. This being concealed can be understood in the service of God. And there's two types of love. When you feel what God really is, you feel love. Why do people love money? Why do people love money? Because money enables them to do things. It gives you power. It gives you stability. Money, right? It gives you a sort of an identity. You're somebody. Well, God is infinitely more so, because God is creating you. He's creating the money. He's creating all being, right? A person who loses his money, that's it. He's not worth anything. No, everyone is infinitely valuable. They're being created by God. So if you love money, how much more so you should love God? Says the Rebbe, there's two types of love of God. One of these types of love of God is that you invent it. And the other one is that you reveal it. Let's see. Two types of love of God. From thinking and the greatness of God. When a person thinks the Romos Gedulaso and the greatness of God, Yolid Mizeh, from this, his palas bechuka v'islavos elov. You will have a tremendous love for God. Right? Let's say a person, take an example of a man and a wife, right? A guy doesn't like his wife. He doesn't like his wife. Why? He's a cold person, and he's got other things on his mind, and he loves sports, or he loves the success, or so he loves himself, doesn't love his wife. So they go to a marriage counselor, and the marriage counselor says, listen, you got to love your wife. So what can I do? I don't love my wife. What do you love? I love the Dodgers. I love money. I love to see my name in the papers. That's what I love. And my wife, same wife all the time. Says, okay, so what you do is think. Think. Your wife, she loves you. She provides for you. She cares for you. Your wife makes the house. Your wife is devoted to you. Your wife doesn't cheat on you. Your wife this. So he has all these reasons for loving his wife, comes to love his wife. But essentially, he doesn't really love his wife. He loves himself. But when he thinks about it, so that gives an appreciation of his wife. He loves her. The same thing is with God. That was just a simple example. The same thing was with God. That's like advertising, right? That's like advertising. Buy the new Chevrolet. Chevrolet is the best car. Chevrolet does this. Chevrolet does Coca-Cola. All these reasons. Essentially, he doesn't really care one way or the other. But when he realizes how good that it is, and especially how good that it is to him, so when he thinks about it, he realizes that there's what to love, and he loves it. That's the same thing with God. When essentially he doesn't love God, a person loves himself. He thinks about himself. But when you think about it, listen, God really creates you. God is really providing for you. God really enlivens you. You have all these reasons to love God. God is so good. So when you think about it, say, yeah, it's got a good point over here. Got a good point. And yet the more you think about it, the more you have love. So this gives birth to palos bechuka v'islavos elov. Then all of a sudden you get a big desire for God. You start thinking, wow, really God is even better than money. God is even better than pleasures. God is better than the Dodgers. God is better than this. And he has love for God. This is according to a person's understanding, his comprehension Yahalalish, a person can praise. A person will praise God. The simple meaning is, according to a person's intellect, he will be praised. But Yeholel means he praises God. Shamidos nimshachim achre sechel, because emotions are drawn after a person's understanding, visbonos, and contemplation. And there's one reason you don't love God or you don't believe in God, you don't think about God, is because you're not thinking properly. What's it? The unbiasedly about what God is. Think about it, right? God is creating you. Come on, really, God is really, think about it. Maybe yes, maybe not. Think about it. God is creating me. I mean, I really don't know how I exist. I just, maybe God is creating me. If so, think about what God is. That's pretty freaky, God is really creating me all the time. God really, is without God, there is no me. And without me, there certainly is God. So maybe I'm not that important. You start to think about this and think about it, and eventually it becomes not just an idea. You can write about it in books or explain it about it in classes like I do, but you really feel it. You feel it. That's Havazu. This is Holada. This is something born anew. But wow, I never thought about that. I never thought about that. That it depends totally on your appreciation and your understanding of what God is. You think about it. But then there's another type of love, and this second type of love is really unique to the Jewish people. And what is this? This is called Ahava Musuter. This is called concealed love. This love concealed. This is a type of love. Sheyesh B'teva told us in Nefesh Elokis, which is found in the essence and the nature of the godly soul. Okay, now Jews are different from everybody else. Especially in this aspect. Namely, they've got what's called a godly soul. A godly soul feels God, just like a normal human being feels himself. And if you don't, then you've got problems. A person that doesn't feel himself has problems, right? He can jump off of bridges and who knows what. He doesn't care anything about himself. Right? A person like that, he feels miserable all the time or confused all the time. Right? He doesn't think he can take drugs. I don't care what happens to me. He takes drugs, takes everything, steals, lies, doesn't, right? Because he doesn't really realize who his real self is. So he feels all frustrated and deep. That's a normal person, feels himself. A normal person wants what's good for himself. That's what a normal person does. He thinks about himself. He doesn't want to damage himself. He wants to build. If he's thinking in a proper direction like he should be, then what's for himself? Sometimes he has to forego immediate pleasures for more lasting and true pleasures, right? He has his immediate pleasures. He wants to have who knows what, a sex change or something like that. But his long-lasting pleasures, he wants to have a family. He wants to have children. He wants to have, right? The immediate, that's not really your real self. Here's his real self is willing to do. That a person thinks about himself. A Jew has what's called a second soul. And this second soul intrinsically, instinctively, wants to do what God wants. Just like a normal person loves himself, and this self-love can get twisted around, right? A normal Jew loves God, but even more than he loves himself. Because why do you love yourself? Because you feel yourself. I mean, here I am. It's the most obvious given in the world. It's the most, the most basic axiom there is in the world. I'm here. I'm conscious. There's even these people that say the whole world is just your imagination. Everything is subjective. Okay, everything is subjective, but what about me, my mind? Where does that come from? That's also being invented by who? Right? I'm inventing everything, so it means that I am real. That's the only thing I can know about, that I am real. Well, the godly soul, that's a normal person. A godly soul feels that God is real. And even more, the godly soul feels that I am a miracle. I'm being created by God all the time. That's the godly soul. It's there inside of every Jew. That's what makes a Jew a Jew. It wants by its nature to be included in God. That God is the source and the source and the beginning and the source of everything, of the soul. Right? So there's a godly soul that feels that God is creating me. Ella, but it's concealed. The Hester Gadol gets healed. This is going to be the treasures of Yosef. The Yotzi or Guli, in order to reveal it, has to be by means of his bonus. You have to think about it. Like it says in the Tanya. So both of these types of love are being by means of thinking, contemplating, thinking very deeply and realistically to try to solve this problem. If God is creating me, why don't I feel it? The first one invents. Essentially, you only feel yourself, but it invents reasons to love God, and it convinces you to love God. Right? You convince yourself. And the second one is not convincing, it's revealing. You discover, right? Columbus did not invent America, he discovered America. The automobile was not revealed. It was invented. Somebody invented it, but it was invented because somebody discovered the principles of combustion and all these other things. But how to put it together so that it was meaningful, that's called an invention. That's the first way. You invent all these reasons, you put everything together to realize what God is. Who creates the sky? Who creates the heavens? Who keeps me alive? Who gives me? Maybe it's God. You put it together and you have all these reasons to love God. That's the first type of love. The second type of love is only by the Jews, and they reveal the essence of their soul. The essence of the Jewish soul. It says a Jew has two souls, a normal soul like everybody else, basically, and this Jewish soul which feels God. And when a person feels God, there's a tremendous flaming love for God, because you feel that your whole being is just a big gift. It's a big miracle. The fact that I'm here and that I can see and that I have a mind and I have legs and that I have feelings, it's just all gifts. It's an amazing gift of God constantly, not just a long time ago to the first man. What was it? The Neanderthal man or something. This is not born by something born by your mind. It's invented. It's not invented. It's discovered. Shari Avazu, this already was mitachila from the beginning in your soul. This is an awareness of a Jew of what God is, of the existence of God, revealing, discovering. It was concealed, by means of proper thinking. Yatzata minahelam, you can come from being concealed to be revealed. It's like taking a person and a person had problems with his eyes, and he puts on glasses, and suddenly he sees clearly. Oh, I see him. Right? Let me look at this check. I can't see anything. I'm a poor man in the streets. He puts on glasses. Wow, it's a check for $50 billion, and it's made out to me. Right? The same thing. You see, a Jew sees and he feels the Creator. But that's concealed. That's an essential feeling that only the Jews have. It's something like the Holy Temple. How the Holy Temple is different from, I don't know, the Eiffel Tower or any other building. The Holy Temple revealed God. That's the essence of a Jew. That's called another name for that. That's called holiness. That's the whole business being. I'll make a video about that today, I hope. What's going on today? Israel is a holy land, and the Jews are holy people. The temple is a holy temple. The Torah is a holy Torah. Holy means it's pure godliness. It's before the creation, revealed in the creation, the purpose of creation, right? What are these people, Hamas, may they be blotted out forever? What have they got to do with anything holy, with anything good, with life? What are they going to do with the holy? That's right. It's like giving a piano to a horse. What are they going to do with it? What are they going to do with the Holy Land? What connection have they possibly got with the Holy Land? Okay, the question is, what are we doing with it? Right, we're supposed to do something. That's the claim. The claim is maybe it was a Holy Land a long time ago when the Jews were holy, but they're not holy anymore. So the Rebbe is trying to show us that we are holy and we just have to reveal it. We have to discover our own holiness. That's what Yosef hid. That's what the rabbis say. When there goes wine goes in, secrets come out. What is the secret? Secrets is bechinas ahava musutera. That's this concealed love. And the wine is the secrets of the Torah. We'll see. How can you bring this hidden wine, like wine is hidden inside of a grape? Also, the love of God is hidden inside of every Jew. How can this come out? By means of hitbonenut, by turning our attention, by thinking, which is called the wine of Torah. Only through the Torah, the only way we know how to love God and that we can think properly to open these doors which reveal godliness and open up our mind is only through the Torah. It's only through the Torah. There's other religions that are wonderful. They think about God and they're spiritual, and there's all these practices, and there are people, and they become genuinely inspired by this, but it's by spirituality. It's not by God. They reveal the spiritual, which is something like the angels. The angels are living in a spiritual, and they go crazy for God, but they cannot feel what God is. Only a Jew can, and that's only through the Torah. And really, this hidden love is Gedola Barabam Bechinas is infinitely greater than the love which is aroused by thinking, which we're going to get to in a second. One minute. On this trick over here. There we go. By thinking. This love which you discover is infinitely greater and more real than the love which you invent. Even though you're inventing this love of God and you're inventing a true thing. And the fact is, you really should love God. And the other love of God, which is natural inside, is not anything new. So you might think a new, fresh love is better than an eternal, natural love, which is inside of every single Jew. A Jew, if you have your choice, think about and invent this new love. It's fresh. Nevertheless, even though the old natural love of God is old and it's there from before time, and maybe you get used to it or whatever, but no, it's a higher level. Ahava anolda means bonus, because love, which depends on your contemplation and thinking and comprehension of what God is, ulamata mimenu is below this natural love, and it's only shalonish blakokach. It just didn't come down so low like the hidden love of God. What's this hidden love of God? We see this is revealed in sorts of weird cases. That's the whole story of Purim we talked about before. But we saw it also when Jews are in difficult situations. All of a sudden, this love of God comes out. The church caused a lot of it. The church had these inquisitions and expulsions and all sorts of degradations that they did to the Jews. And it just increased the Jews' connection to God. That's why the church changed their war tactics. Now they're trying to destroy Judaism from being nice. We're nice guys. We like you. They give money to Israel. They give money to, and then they figure it's like Napoleon. Be nice, and then that'll get rid of the Jewish soul, which works. It works. The Jews get convinced easily. Jews are nice. They want to be friendly. They want to be liked by everybody. So it works. But when there's pressure on the Jews, all of a sudden comes out from non-religious Jews even the willingness to give their lives for God. That's called this hidden love of God, right? Hidden love of God. It's almost like, right? You love God because if you love God, you're going to go to heaven. So you think about all these reasons and how, I don't know what's going to be after I die, and God does, and God's holding my hand, and he's going to be with me after I die. So yes, I love God. It's almost like the people loved Stalin. Almost, God forbid to say a terrible thing like that, but right, because Stalin, he provides for us, and if we don't love him, then a bad thing's going to happen to us. That's etc. That's the love which is born by thinking. But this hidden love of God is just revealing, discovering what God really is, the essence of God, how God creates us, and that's what God does. But what about what God is himself? God is infinitely above it's any sort of reality or goodness that we can possibly imagine. And that's called this concealed love. Like it says in the Tanya, that this is the hidden love of God. When it comes to be revealed, it's called Ahava Rav. It's called big love. That's greater than what's called Avat Olam. Avat Olam is love that comes from thinking about the world. What you would think you, like also it says later on, we'll see. Behold, Bechinas from Madrigas Yosef, this level of Yosef is Ahava Rabbah. This level of Yosef, like we said, everything in the Torah is inside of us. So Yosef, this is the talking about this concealed love, it's found in every Jew. That it's very, very high. Yosef, this is the level of Yosef, that this is what's called Yesod. Yesod is connector, the connector. That's the place of the circumcision, the Brit, the covenant between the Jews and God. The essential connection between every Jew and God. Hainu Bechinas, that's the Yud. Sod. Yesod is Yud. That's the first level of God's name. And Sod, but it's hidden. Bazil Pirish Or Zerul Tzadik. Now, who would dream that this is the essence of the Jewish people? But if you think about it, even for a minute, less than a minute, right? What is this thing of anti-Semitism? This is the thing that aroused me when I actually became a religious Jew. What is that? What do people hate when they hate the Jews? What do they hate? How do they know who a Jew is? The Jews don't look different. They don't act different. They don't come from Jew land or speak Jew language or something like that, or have some sort of a sign on them, right? They walk in a Jewish way, or they move in a Jewish thing. They have. How do you know what a Jew is? Why do they hate them? What is there to be hated? What is there to be hated? What is there at all? What is it? What is a Jew? Right? We have generations, four generations of non-religious Jews. Right? The Jew was born in America. His parents were how do you say, atheists, and his grandparents were communists, and his great-grandparents were Bundists, and they just didn't know anything, right? I mean, his great-great-great-great-grandfather was a rabbi somewhere, something like this. The guy doesn't have any connection to Judaism at all. There's people in Russia that don't even know that they're Jewish. They don't know that they're Jewish. And communism wiped out all education, so their parents didn't know they were Jewish. And the grandparents, and just a great-great-grandfather knew that he was Jewish. They don't. As soon as they discover, your great-great-great-grandmother was Jewish, your mother's mother's mother, you're a Jew. I'm a Jew. All of a sudden, he changes. Makes no sense. Right? Okay, I'll put on tefillin. I'll make a circumcision. Right? Tell a person, your great-great-grandfather came from Scotland. He's going to put on a kilt. What does he care, right? Your great-great-great-grandfather came from Mexico. He's going to put a sombrero on. He's going to start eating, tacos or something. What does he care? He's got no identity whatsoever. No, I'm an American. A Jew knows that he's a Jew. Right? He knows that he's a Jew. How does he know? Somebody told him. All of a sudden it wakes up. What did it wake up? What did it wake up? That's the point. What did it wake up? So that's what the Rebbe is explaining. It woke up somehow or other deep down, and he doesn't know how to explain it. It could be that he's the coldest person in the world, most, I would say, anti-path. He's the most anti-society person in the world. And suddenly it wakes up this tiny little love inside of himself. Yeah, I'm a Jew. A love of some new identity. What is a Jew? Of God, of the creator of the universe, of reality. It's a reality that cannot be wiped away. Just like reality can't be wiped away, the reality of Judaism can't be wiped away, but even more, because reality comes from the creator. And the Jewish people, that's connected to the creator himself. That's why the Jews are called sons of God. That's what it means, or Zerul Tzadik. That's what it means that this light is concealed. Shu Bechinas or Kadma. This is what's called a hidden light. Sheganzul tzaddikim, that was concealed for the tzaddikim. For Or Kadma, and this primordial light, this light which is before creation, Hu Bechinas Ahava Rabbah. This is tremendous love. This is the force of love by which God created the world. God just gave, just giving. Shehila Maila, this is above any sort of Ahavas Olam, any sort of love that you can uh, derive from thinking about the world. How good God is, He creates the world. This is talking about the essence of God. He's light, or is the level of chesed, of kindness, of love. And there's what's called love that comes from the world. This is what's called love, which is drawn from intellect. But there's or kadma, this primordial light, which is before the world was created, before time, before being was created. And this is a tremendous love, which is above intellect. Love, just pure life. The Nilkachami Bechinas Rav Chesed is taken from this level, which is called great love. Chesed mitcha lo yamush. It says kindness from you will never move. That's why God created the world. Nobody forced him. The creation of the world is just pure demonstration of love. Every instant is being created. So you can drive this love from thinking about the world, or you can derive it from thinking about God. And when a Jew thinks about God, then it wakens up the fact that every Jew is the son of God. This light was concealed for the tzaddikim in the Yosef. This is the level of Yosef, tzaddik elyon. Just like Yosef was able to explain the dreams. Paro had a dream. The whole answer to all of his problems was in the dreams, and he didn't know what it meant. Right, here's Paro, the ruler of the world, and he has to take care of the world's problems. He doesn't know what to do. He's got a dream. It means something. He doesn't know what it means. Comes Yosef, and Yosef says, the answer is right there in the dream. You got the dream. It's right there. What answer? What problem? Yosef, the problem is that in another few years, there's going to be a big famine. And you have to gather up the food now. And when you do, then there's going to be enough for the whole world. And inside of the dream was concealed the answer. The same thing, how did Yosef get out? We learned about this, about the dream of the wine minister. Like wine is considered concealed inside of the grape. So when it's squeezed, the answer came out. That's the whole thing of Yosef. Things that were concealed becomes revealed. Tzafnat paneach. Tzafnat means what's tzafon is concealed. Paneach is revealed, is answered. Therefore, Yosef, he was the one that planted inside of every Jew this tremendous love that we talked about. Elohush Mesoter, but it's concealed inside of us. Geniza, the soda, the helam, and it's concealed in what's called wine. Yotze sod. That's what it means, that when wine goes in, you take the wine out of the grapes, and when it comes inside of you, then the revealed secret. What's the secret in this case? We're talking about the wine is this love of God, which is waiting for us. And when it goes inside of us, it reveals the love of God, which is inside of us. Or say it another way, it's the love of God for us. And the secret, which is revealed, is our love for God. It's the same love. Something's wrong with this hat here. Okay, ready? I hope he's according to this. Now we can understand what it says in the Zohar. And then we'll do 5 minutes of this, and we'll come back to it tomorrow. What says in the Zohar? Truma. Zohar is a Kabbalistic book, right? Written by Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai about 1,700, 800 years ago. This is written in Aramaic. Hai or Zerua, this planted light of God. Hai or Zerua le Kodesh Baruch Hu began, or Zerua le Kodesh Baruch Hu. This light, Zerua planted it. Kodesh Baruch Hu, God, beginsa in His garden. Planted, right? It's a planted light. So God planted this light in His garden. Garden, the Eden, the Garden of Eden. Al Yadei, by means of the high tzaddik, this a tzaddik, the iu ginza ganana, the ginza, that he is the gardener of this garden. Natal takes this light, v'zoreale, and he plants it, zuria de kashut, a true planting. Ubegalusa, that's what the tzaddikim do. They take the light of godliness and they plant it inside of the Jewish people. Ubegalusa, but when we're in exile, ginsa lo alabe ganana, the into this garden does not go the gardener. In other words, God has this light of godliness, which is essential, pure godliness, and the tzaddikim of every generation, they plant it inside of the Jewish people. In other words, they reveal it. They reveal that it's planted. But when the Jews are in exile, so all that there is weeds and stubble and rocks and things like that. And the garden is untended, which means every Jew. And so this hidden light, which is planted, cannot be revealed. There's no gardener. And this light, the iu zarua, which is planted tadir constantly, Avid makes, right, the natural that's there. What does it do? Avid even uminin umigramei azdara kikadmusa. And this light, which is planted and that the gardener doesn't work on, so it grows up all sorts of trees and bushes and all sorts of things that grow up on their own, and they replant on their own just like before, right? Like we see in the world. What do we see in the world? There's forests. Who plants the forests? They're just there. They're just, there's billion, who knows how many acres of forests there are in the world, right? The things just grow naturally, naturally, without any gardener working on them. And then there's regular normal fields where people work on the fields and they grow. They grow. The same thing as godliness. There's two types of godliness. One type of godliness is that it's cultured. You work on it, it grows. Another type of godliness is that it grows up on its own, like weeds and trees and all sorts of things. Okay, Paris Ginza, what is this garden? What is the garden? This is Hamshachas, this is drawn down the godliness from Malchut of Ein Sof, which is the beginning of the Kav of God's speech until the end. Akol, everything is Ginza, it's all God's, the garden. This is the garden of creation, Malchut, everything comes out of it. Like the rabbis say, Ma Gan Sarich, just like a garden has to be worked on. It has to be watered. It has to be watered and weeded and things like this. This is what's called the service of the birurim, of working on the world, which is made by means of Yosef at Tzaddik. That's the Tzaddik comes into the world and he tells everybody, like we're learning right now, what is good, what is bad, what is godliness, what is true love. Just like on a physical world, there's two types of growing. One is a food that grows up every year, and it comes up when you work on the field. That's going to be like that's going to be like this love, which is born by means of contemplation. And the second is sfichim, is things that grow up automatically. Things that grow up on their own. Shalom Nizra, that they weren't planted now at all. Elamina Zuriya, but just from seeds that fell before, who knows, 1,000 years ago. And this is called Sfiche Da'ara. These are things that automatically grow in the world. Shemakayme Ora, that they make the world exist. She'ikr Kiyom Ora, it's that the main existence of the world is by means of Sfichim, all the animals, everything, all the plants, all the animals, all the plants in the world. These are things that grow up automatically. All the animals, all the people, what do they eat from? They eat from things that grew up automatically, right? That's what the majority of the world. There's more animals in the world and wild things than there are natural. Says the Rebbe, this is also, you can find the same thing up in the heavens. But Eretz Yonah, there is that's called the garden. There's two levels of love. One of them is godliness, which is drawn down by means of our work. And then there's a type of godliness which is automatic. It's just found there all the time. And this we're going to learn about, God willing, tomorrow, and what connection this has got to do with the three treasures that Yosef revealed. But at least now we know that the treasures are love of God. Love of God. And we've learned up to now that there's two different types of love of God, and that is what's called the upper love of God, revealing what God is, discovering the essence of the Creator, which always is. In the Jewish people, especially, that's the essence of their soul. And the other type of love is a love which is cultivated, which you work on, which is not as high. It's still love of God, but it's not as intense and as high as the other one. And that's what we're talking about. Yosef hid away for us. And who is Yosef in our generation, which we're going to talk about, God willing, tomorrow. Now let's do the Yom Yom.
Dvar Malchus, no?
Sorry, the Devar Malchut, right?